"You are not my niece," Sir Reginald Whitmore declared before the entire ballroom. "You are a dismissed governess who entered this house under a false name." Every conversation stopped. Eleanor Whitmore stood beneath the chandeliers of Ravensmere Hall while her uncle tore her invitation in half. Beside him, Lavinia watched with a satisfied smile, dressed as though she were already the future Countess of Ravensmere. Eleanor did not retreat. "My name was respectable when you required my father's land," she replied. "It became inconvenient only after he died." A murmur travelled through the guests. Then Eleanor placed a sealed letter upon the card table. Across the room, Nathaniel Harcourt, Earl of Ravensmere, recognized the black crest pressed into its wax. It belonged to a man who had died protecting one of his family's darkest secrets. "Before we continue, tell us what you would have done in her place." Sir Reginald's face remained composed, but his fingers tightened around the torn invitation. "Take that letter away," he said. "This is neither a court nor a lodging-house for desperate women." Eleanor looked at the two halves of the invitation lying near his shoes. "It bears the seal of Ravensmere Hall. That proves only that you stole respectable stationery." A few guests laughed. Their amusement was uncertain rather than cruel, but it gave Lavinia courage. She stepped forward in a gown of pale green satin, her diamonds catching the candlelight. "My father has tried to be patient with you, Eleanor. You were offered employment after your unfortunate dismissal. Instead, you have come here to embarrass us." "Your father did not offer me employment. He offered silence in exchange for obedience." Lavinia's smile thinned. "You were dismissed because no reputable household trusted you." "I was dismissed because your father wrote to my employer." The laughter stopped. Eleanor had not intended to reveal that detail so soon. Yet Sir Reginald had chosen a public attack, and she would not defend herself with half-truths. Nathaniel crossed the ballroom. He did not move quickly, but people made way before him. His dark evening coat was plain by fashionable standards. Only the silver clasp at his throat marked the wealth of the house. "Miss Whitmore," he said. "Who sent you this invitation?" "I do not know." Sir Reginald gave a short laugh. "A convenient answer." Nathaniel ignored him. "Did it arrive by post?" "No. A boy delivered it to the school where I teach." "Did he give a name?" "He said only that the sender wished me to attend before an announcement was made." Lavinia's expression shifted. Nathaniel noticed. "So you knew an announcement was expected," Eleanor said to her. "Everyone knows," Lavinia replied. "There is no secret." "There is no engagement either," Nathaniel said. The room changed. Nothing visible moved, yet every guest appeared to listen more carefully. Lavinia turned to him. "Nathaniel, my father and yours discussed this arrangement for months. They discussed an alliance. I gave no final consent." Sir Reginald stepped between them. "This is hardly the moment to debate private matters. You made the matter public when you accused a guest of fraud." "She is not a guest." Nathaniel looked towards the torn invitation. "That remains to be determined." He picked up the sealed letter from the card table. Eleanor's hand moved instinctively. "Please do not open it." Nathaniel stopped. "You brought it to display." "I brought it because the seal connects it to your family. The letter itself belonged to my father." His gaze settled on her. "Then we shall examine it without an audience." Sir Reginald's voice sharpened. "I object." "You are free to do so." Nathaniel gestured towards the library. "The door will remain open, Miss Whitmore." Eleanor followed him. The library at Ravensmere Hall was larger than the schoolroom where she taught 20 girls each week. Shelves rose from floor to ceiling, a fire burned beneath a carved stone mantel, and a long table held maps of the northern estates. Nathaniel placed the unopened letter upon the table. "You may break the seal yourself." Eleanor did not move. "It has already been opened once." "By you." "By my father. He resealed it before he died." She lifted the black wax carefully. The paper within had been folded 4 times. One corner bore a dark water stain, and the final paragraph ended abruptly. Nathaniel read without touching it. Sir Reginald has pressed again for the transfer of the Western Fields. I have refused. The land was placed in Eleanor's name under the settlement, though he continues to speak as if I hold it freely. If the Harcourt agreement proceeds, the false transfer may be hidden inside the marriage articles. Mr. Crane has seen enough to understand the danger. Trust the Black Seal, but trust no copy that has passed through Reginald's hands. The final line was unfinished. Should anything happen before Eleanor reaches? There was no signature. Nathaniel read the passage twice. Your father wrote this. The hand is his. That is not proof. No, but neither is my uncle's denial. You believe the proposed marriage between Lavinia and me would conceal an unlawful transfer. I believe my father feared it. Why would my family accept land it did not own? Perhaps your family does not know. Nathaniel's expression remained unreadable. That is a careful answer. It is the only fair one. He looked again at the wax seal. The crest showed a raven above a narrow tower. It had belonged to Tobias Crane, once steward to Nathaniel's father. Crane had left Ravensmere service 7 years earlier, after accusing several men of altering estate records. Nathaniel had been abroad at the time. By the time he returned, his father was dead, and the matter had been closed. Where did you find the letter? He asked. Inside my father's travelling desk. When? 6 weeks ago. The desk had been stored in a stable loft at Whitmore Grange. Why were you allowed to enter? I was not. For the first time, Nathaniel almost smiled. Eleanor continued. Mrs. Bell, our former housekeeper, told me where the desk had been hidden. I entered through the old dairy passage. You trespassed on land my father believed belonged to me. Belief does not establish ownership, nor does possession. He studied her with greater attention. Most people softened their language in his presence. Eleanor did not. She spoke as though rank were relevant only when connected to duty. Why come here tonight? He asked. Because the invitation mentioned an announcement. You intended to stop it. I intended to learn whether your marriage agreement involved the Western Fields, and if it did, I would have objected before witnesses. You expected society to support a governess against a baronet and an earl. No. I expected them to remember what they heard. The answer was intelligent enough to trouble him. Nathaniel folded the letter along its existing lines. I will speak with Mr. Crane. You know him? He served my father. Then the seal is genuine. The seal belonged to him. That does not prove who used it. Eleanor held out her hand for the letter. Nathaniel returned it. Do not announce the engagement, she said. You presume authority over a matter that does not concern you personally. If my land is being used to support it, the matter concerns me. You have not proved the land is yours. Then delay the announcement until we know. Nathaniel walked towards the fire. The Ravensmere estate required capital. 2 tenant farms needed drainage. The Eastern Bridge had become unsafe. A marriage alliance with the Whitmores would settle several debts without selling land that had belonged to his family for generations. Sir Reginald knew this. Eleanor probably did not. If your accusation is false, Nathaniel said, you will have damaged 2 families. If it is true, those families have already damaged mine. Music resumed faintly beyond the library door. Nathaniel looked at the woman standing before him. Her gown was brown wool, neatly altered but several seasons old. She wore no jewels. Her posture, however, was as assured as Lavinia's had been beneath diamonds. I shall make no announcement tonight, he said. Eleanor's shoulders lowered by the smallest degree. Thank you. That is not an endorsement of your claim. No, it is an honest delay. He nodded once. You will remain at the ball until your carriage arrives. I did not come in a carriage. How did you come? By hired coach. I could not afford to keep it waiting. Nathaniel rang for a servant. A Ravensmere carriage will take you home. I can walk to the main road. At midnight? I have walked farther. That does not make it sensible. Eleanor hesitated. She disliked accepting favors from powerful men. Favors were too often converted into obligations. Nathaniel seemed to read the concern. The carriage is offered because you entered my house under an invitation bearing my seal. Nothing more. Then I accept. When Eleanor returned to the ballroom, Sir Reginald blocked her path. What did you tell him? The truth. You do not possess enough truth to protect yourself. Then why are you frightened? His expression hardened. You mistake restraint for fear. And you mistake isolation for helplessness. Lavinia approached them. Nathaniel remained at the library door, watching. Father, Lavinia said quietly, people are looking. Sir Reginald stepped aside. Eleanor crossed the ballroom without lowering her head. The guests did look, some with judgment, some with curiosity, a few with respect. For the first time in 4 years, she was not being erased from the room. By morning, everyone in the county knew that no engagement had been announced. Eleanor returned to St. Anne's School before 8. The building stood near the edge of the market town, where fine houses gave way to workshops and crowded lanes. She taught the daughters of shopkeepers, clerks, and tradesmen. Their fees barely paid her salary, but the work gave her a room, regular meals, and the right to be useful. Her eldest pupil, Mary Sutton, found her placing books on a high shelf. "Is it true you stopped an Earl's engagement?" the girl asked. "No. The baker's wife said you did." "The baker's wife has never allowed accuracy to interrupt a good story." Mary smiled. "What happened then?" "I asked a question that certain people preferred not to answer." "Were you afraid?" Eleanor looked at the girl. "Yes." Mary seemed surprised. "Courage is not the absence of fear," Eleanor said. "It is deciding that something else matters more." A carriage stopped outside. The schoolmistress entered moments later, pale with concern. "The Earl of Ravensmere is here." Nathaniel stood in the narrow passage, while 3 pupils stared at him through the half-open classroom door. "I apologize for arriving without notice," he said. "Men of rank rarely find notice necessary. I brought information, not rank." Eleanor led him into the empty schoolroom. He placed a small ledger on the desk. "Tobias Crane kept a record of private meetings with your father." "You found him?" "He lives near the northern boundary." "Will he speak?" "Not willingly." She opened the ledger. Several entries mentioned Sir Reginald. One referred to a disputed map. Another recorded a meeting held 3 days before Eleanor's father died. Beside the final entry, Crane had written one sentence: "The girl must never sign away what she does not know she owns." Eleanor read it again. "My father expected someone to make me sign something." "Did your uncle ever present legal papers after the funeral?" "Yes." "What were they?" "He said they confirmed I had no claim and released him from further responsibility." "Did you sign?" "No." Nathaniel looked at her. "Why not?" "My father taught me never to sign a document I had not been permitted to read." For the first time, Nathaniel allowed his approval to show. "That may have preserved your claim." "Or delayed my uncle's plan." He closed the ledger. "Crane will meet us tomorrow." "Us." "He refuses to speak unless you are present." "Why?" "He says your father trusted you to recognize a lie." The words unsettled her more than praise would have done. Outside, the school bell rang. Girls hurried through the passage. Nathaniel watched Eleanor gather her papers. "You could have asked me to remove you from this place," he said. "Why would I? You have little money, and your uncle has influence. My pupils need a teacher. You may soon have an estate. I may not." "You speak as though the possibility means nothing." "It means a great deal. It does not make these girls less real." Nathaniel looked through the window towards the yard, where 2 pupils were sharing a single book. Something in his manner changed. Not affection, not yet. Recognition. Eleanor was not fighting merely to recover comfort. She had already built a life in which she mattered. That afternoon, Sir Reginald received a note from one of the Ravensmere servants. The Earl had visited St. Anne's School. He had taken Tobias Crane's ledger with him. Sir Reginald read the message twice, then held it over a candle until the paper blackened. Lavinia stood near the window. "What will you do?" she asked. "What I should have done before the ball." He turned towards her. "Miss Whitmore must lose her position before she finds the courage to demand anything more." The dismissal arrived the following morning. The headmistress called Eleanor into her office before lessons began. A letter lay open upon the desk, bearing Sir Reginald's signature. "He claims your presence is damaging the reputation of the school," she said. "And do you agree?" "No." "Then why am I being dismissed?" The headmistress looked ashamed. "3 benefactors have threatened to withdraw their support. Without them we cannot pay the rent." Eleanor understood at once. Reginald had not attacked her character because he believed the accusation. He had attacked the school because he knew she would not let others suffer for her. "When must I leave?" "By Friday," Eleanor nodded. "I shall complete the week." "You need not. The girls should not lose their lessons because my uncle dislikes questions." By midday, rumors had reached every classroom. Eleanor continued teaching as though nothing had changed. When Nathaniel arrived that afternoon, he found her packing only her personal books. "You have been dismissed," he said. "The news travels quickly in noble houses." Sir Reginald contacted the school's benefactors. "Yes, I can replace their funding." "No." His expression cooled. "You would allow the school to close rather than accept help." "I would allow neither." "Then what do you propose?" "I shall speak with the parents. Many can pay a little more. Others can contribute coal, paper, or food. The school may become smaller, but it need not close." "That may not be enough." "Then I shall find another building." Nathaniel looked at the bare walls and worn desks. "You make refusal sound like a profession. I make independence a habit." He placed his gloves on the table. "Crane is waiting at the old gatehouse." Eleanor closed her case. "Then let us not keep him waiting." Tobias Crane lived in a stone cottage near the northern boundary of Ravensmere. He was nearly 70, with a bent back and a voice sharpened by years of disappointment. He did not offer them tea. "I wrote what I saw," he said. "That should have been enough." "It was not," Eleanor replied. "My father is dead, and my uncle controls his estate." Crane looked at Nathaniel. "Your father knew." Nathaniel's jaw tightened. "Knew what?" "That Sir Reginald altered the western boundary papers." Nathaniel remained still. Crane continued. "The land belonged to Eleanor under her mother's settlement. Her father could manage it, but he could not sell it." "Why was Ravensmere involved?" Nathaniel asked. "Your father needed money. Reginald offered the western fields as security for a marriage alliance between the families." "My father accepted stolen property?" "He accepted Reginald's word." "That is not the same answer." "No," Crane said. "It is merely the kinder one." Eleanor watched Nathaniel absorb the insult without defending his father. "What proof remains?" she asked. Crane crossed to a cabinet and removed an old map. One corner had been torn away. "The original boundary record was hidden in the chapel at Whitmore Grange. Your father placed it there after he realized Reginald had begun replacing documents." "Where in the chapel?" "He told me only that the truth rested beneath a hymn no honest man could sing." Nathaniel frowned. "That is remarkably unhelpful. Your father enjoyed riddles when frightened." Eleanor examined the map. A faint mark had been drawn beside the old family chapel. She recognized it. "My father used the same mark in the margins of his prayer book." Crane looked at her with sudden interest. "Then perhaps he trusted you to understand more than I did." They traveled to Whitmore Grange after dark. The chapel had been closed since Eleanor's father died. Dust covered the benches, and ivy pressed against the narrow windows. Nathaniel carried a lantern while Eleanor searched the hymn books. Most were ordinary. One had a cracked green cover and her father's initials inside. Several pages had been cut away. Beneath the lining lay a small iron key. "There must be a box," Nathaniel said. Eleanor looked towards the altar. Behind it stood a wooden chest once used for vestments. The key fitted. The chest was empty. Only a square of dust showed where a packet had rested. Eleanor stared at it. "Someone came before us." A movement sounded near the door. Nathaniel turned. Lavinia stood beneath the archway, wrapped in a travelling cloak. "You should not be here," she said. "Neither should you," Eleanor replied. Lavinia's eyes moved to the open chest. "You found it." "Found what?" Nathaniel asked. She looked afraid. "Not guilty. Afraid. My father sent me here 2 months ago. He told me to remove a packet and give it to our solicitor." "What was inside?" Eleanor asked. "I did not read it. Where is it now? I do not know." Nathaniel stepped closer. "You expect us to believe that? I expect nothing from you." Her voice broke on the final word. Eleanor studied her cousin. Lavinia had mocked her at the ball, but there was no triumph in her now. "Why tell us?" Eleanor asked. "Because father has arranged the announcement for Saturday." Nathaniel's face hardened. "There will be no announcement." "He says there will. He has invited the trustees, the county magistrates, and half the families in London. He cannot announce my engagement without my consent." "He does not need your consent to create the appearance of one." Lavinia looked at Eleanor. "He means to present the marriage articles publicly. Once the papers are signed by the trustees, he believes no one will examine the land transfer." "Where is the packet?" Eleanor asked again. "I gave it to Mr. Hale, our solicitor." "Will he surrender it?" "No." "Then he must be compelled." Lavinia shook her head. "You do not understand my father. He will destroy everything before he loses control." Eleanor stepped towards her. "Then help us before he does." Lavinia looked away. "If I speak, I lose everything." "You may lose what was never lawfully yours." "That is easy for you to say. You have already lived without comfort." Eleanor's answer was calm. "And survived." Lavinia had no reply. The next morning, Nathaniel summoned Sir Reginald to Ravensmere Hall. Reginald arrived with the marriage articles already prepared. "You will sign these today," he said. "Saturday's gathering will then become a formality." Nathaniel did not touch the papers. "The Western Fields do not belong to you." Reginald smiled. "Eleanor has filled your mind with fantasies. Tobias Crane has confirmed the transfer was disputed." "Crane is a bitter old servant. There is also a hidden record, which you have not found." Nathaniel watched him carefully. The confidence in Reginald's voice revealed more than denial would have done. "You know the chapel chest was empty." Reginald's smile faded. "Lavinia spoke to you. She told the truth. She is weak. No, she is frightened of you." Reginald placed both hands upon the desk. "Your estate needs capital. Mine provides it. Marry Lavinia, and this unpleasant matter disappears." "And Eleanor?" "She receives a modest payment and leaves the county." "You have made that offer before." "She refused it before." Nathaniel rose. "Then allow me to be equally clear. I will not marry your daughter." Reginald stared at him. "You would sacrifice Ravensmere for a governess?" "I would sacrifice convenience before I accepted fraud." "You will regret this." "Perhaps, but regret is lighter than dishonor." By evening, Nathaniel ordered part of the Harcourt art collection sold to cover the estate's immediate debts. He did not tell Eleanor until the arrangements were complete. "You sold family paintings," she said when he visited the school. "I sold objects. Your ancestors might disagree. My tenants require safe bridges more than my ancestors require portraits." Eleanor looked at him for a long moment. He had rejected the marriage before knowing whether her claim would succeed. That mattered more than any promise. "If you believe dignity matters more than social rank, you may wish to stay with us for the rest of her story." Mrs. Agnes Bell arrived at the school the following day. She carried an old hymn book wrapped in linen. "I heard the chapel had been opened," she said. Your father kept 2 copies. Eleanor opened the book. The cover was unusually thick. Inside it were folded pages bearing her father's seal. The documents included a copy of the original settlement, a signed declaration from Tobias Crane, and a letter instructing the trustees to recognize Eleanor's rights when she turned 25. Reginald had been permitted to manage the estate until that age. Eleanor was now 29. He stole 4 years, she said. Mrs. Bell shook her head. He tried to steal the rest of your life. Saturday's gathering took place at Whitmore Grange. Sir Reginald stood beneath the family portraits, surrounded by trustees, solicitors, and invited guests. Lavinia waited beside him in white silk. A table held the marriage articles. Nathaniel entered alone. Reginald looked past him. Where is Miss Whitmore? Here, Eleanor said. She entered with Mrs. Bell, Tobias Crane, and the head mistress of St. Anne's School. The room stirred. Reginald lifted his chin. This woman has no standing in these proceedings. Eleanor placed the settlement upon the table. I have the standing my father gave me, and the law recognized. Mr. Hale, Reginald's solicitor, examined the documents. His face changed as he compared the signatures. Reginald pointed at Eleanor. She has forged them. No, Lavinia said. Everyone turned. She stepped away from her father. The packet I removed from the chapel contained the original boundary record. Father ordered Mr. Hale to destroy it. Reginald seized her wrist. You foolish girl. Lavinia pulled free. I saw him place it in the fire. Mr. Hale went pale. Eleanor opened her father's hymn book. The original is gone. The registered copy is not. She presented the settlement, Crane's declaration, and the map reference. The evidence aligned. 3 separate records established the same ownership. The trustees withdrew the marriage articles. Sir Reginald's control of the estate ended that afternoon. He accused Eleanor of returning for Nathaniel's title. She faced him before every guest. The Earl rejected your arrangement before these papers were found. At that time, I owned nothing anyone was willing to recognize. Then she looked at Lavinia. I did not come to take your future. I came to recover mine. 1 year later, the Western Fields held a new school. Girls from farming families studied beside the daughters of merchants and clerks. Eleanor directed the school herself and retained full control of its funds. Nathaniel donated the building, but accepted no authority over it. Only after the first term ended did he ask Eleanor to walk with him through the orchard. I have sold paintings, offended half the county, and learned that governesses are difficult women to impress, he said. That last discovery should not have surprised you. It did not. He held out his hand. I do not ask you to leave your work. I ask whether I may share the life you have built. Eleanor looked towards the school windows. Then she placed her hand in his. Yes. Their wedding was held quietly at Ravensmere. Lavinia attended without diamonds and later became one of the school's patrons. Eleanor became Countess of Ravensmere, but she continued teaching every Thursday. She had not exchanged independence for rank. She had made rank answer to purpose. Thank you for sharing this journey with us. Subscribe if you would like to hear another original story from the world of British aristocratic romance.